I'm a gun with the Go Gators.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I was just checking to see if you were listening.
From Cheyenne, Louisiana. Hold on a second.
Hey, guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay? Thank you.
Momentum, excitement, energy. They say all this stuff and you know what they mean, but it doesn't describe what you mean. It's just sort of out there.
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me. Hurt my feelings.
I was just worried about, listening to, all your guys' rap poison.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. Here are your hosts, Sergio and Tyler.
Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
Hey, Tyler, we are talking not about college football, but about the fact that we have a working Hollywood industry once again.
Woo! It feels good out here in these streets. I want them to put the word that we back up, all right?
I love it.
The SAG strike is over.
Writer's strike was over a little while ago. We're all forces go, right?
Pretty much. SAG still has to vote on it, which will take a few weeks, but hopefully by January, everything will be back to normal.
And if you're wondering, why did Tyler just say January? It's because Thanksgiving through the end of the year is notoriously like a not busy time in Hollywood. So given the fact that this news came out, a half an hour before we started recording on Wednesday, November 8th, we're not seeing stuff until the beginning of the year, which is good though, because that means we can have some productions going.
Yeah, but it feels great. It was 118 days of a combined strike, which is history. That is never, SAG and the WJ have never struck for so long before. So now I don't have to listen to any people be like, you weren't here for the 07 writer's strike. Mm-hmm. Like, I lived through this, and I'm feeling good tonight.
Listen,
about this, not about college football necessarily, but
it makes sense though, because there's no way that the writers or actors could have put together the horrendous sports weekend that I had. So it's understandable.
Maybe that's unrealistic.
It's exactly. It'd be too unrealistic, but we'll sprinkle those in as the show goes forward. We are going to talk about what happened in the world of college football during week 10. We are going to preview week 11. But since we are in November, we are changing the format of the show. So we're going to go into it what we did last week. We're starting with the college football playoff rankings. Tyler, the top four remain unchanged. Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, and Florida State in that order. In terms of on the field, Ohio State beat Rutgers 35-16. Georgia beat Missouri in a really good game, 30-21, where Missouri had a chance to win the football game and were in it for the entire game. Michigan took care of business against Purdue 41-13, and Florida State in the first half almost fell victim to the Pitt principle, but they are a good football team and they pulled away in the second to win 24-7. Tyler, I'm assuming there's no debates and changes here. In your opinion?
No changes. Ohio State gets a quality win over Rutgers. How often can you say that?
Bowl eligible Rutgers going into this game, ladies and gentlemen.
Insane.
Yeah.
Georgia beats Missouri. Missouri confirmed good because they really gave it to them. Missouri had a good plan in that game, but Georgia's Georgia, man, and they were at home, so that helps. Michigan did what they do, and FSU, almost fell victim to the Pitt principle, like you said. I am a little worried about like FSU needs to kind of dominate a little bit more, I think, and that's kind of unfair because they're winning all their games. But they are very clearly the fourth of these three teams.
Yes, and that's why I'm okay with that ranking. I want to go back to Michigan for a second because there was some more developments in the whole Michigan sign stealing scandal. Apparently, the Big Ten has formally informed Michigan of what they are calling potential disciplinary actions regarding the sign stealing scandal. And then Michigan has responded by saying, well, we're going to lawyer up. So it's the office scene where they got the guns pointed at each other, the handguns. That's what's happening right now between Ann Arbor and Indianapolis, between the NCAA and Michigan. In addition to that, the NCAA said that they are investigating if Connor Stallions was on the Central Michigan sidelines, as was reported last week and kind of Zapruder film doctored.
Yeah,
and then
this is me saying a non-journalistic opinion. He totally was there.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. Just like I believe Jim McElwain with the shark picture. Anyway, we're moving forward. There was a tie there. The CMU, the Central Michigan tie was there. Dude.
It's crazy. This is the second time that Jim McElwain has been involved about, is that really someone in that picture?
Mhm.
Or is it someone who looks like them?
If you
And
have to say the
he's been
phrase,
very non-committal about his response, because
if
it's one of
you
those, it's one of those things where it's just like, can't you just say definitively no?
right.
Like,
That was my point, where if you have to say the phrase "I am aware of the picture circulating" twice in your career, we got issues. We got issues, my man. We got issues. Speaking of issues, Michigan is saying that Purdue, Ohio State, and Rutgers all collectively decoded Michigan signs and shared them amongst themselves a couple years ago. So this is very much like Big Brother gets in, or Little Brother gets in trouble, and so now they're blaming Big Brother. They're like yelling, "But what about my sibling?" That's literally what's happening here. And then I just laughed at the. Did you see the Ric Flair picture?
I have not seen this.
Okay, so there's a picture, literally like Monday or Tuesday of this week. A picture came out on Twitter that was tweeted by, I believe, the Michigan like athletic department. Don't quote me on that. I have to double check, but it was a picture of, I think it was Jim Harbaugh's like personal Twitter, actually. And it was a picture of him and Ric Flair, who, if you're not a wrestling fan, you know who Ric Flair is, though. He's a pop culture icon. But within wrestling, his nickname is the dirtiest player in the game, because within wrestling storylines, he always cheated to win. And it's like, have some self-awareness of what's going on right now, Jim Harbaugh. And then tweeting a picture with Ric Flair. The quotes were incredible. Just a whole bunch of the dirtiest players in the game references. It was the college football wrestling Twitter crossover that I live for. It was fantastic. It was incredible. Anything else you want to say about that, or are you just kind of like over this whole Michigan
No,
thing
I mean,
right
well,
now?
there was also, I don't know if we talked about this, but there was the reveal of Michigan is alleging that the journalists that, or the investigators who went into their sign stealing thing, were like paid by Ohio State to investigate them. Like,
Are you serious?
have you not heard about this?
I've not heard about this.
There's a rumor that like the people who uncovered the Michigan sign stealing thing were paid by Ryan Day and Ohio State. Like, that's what Michigan is alleging, that they're paid by Ohio State to investigate, which just makes it is the absolute funniest thing that could happen in this rap.
Oh,
I don't know if
my
it's true.
God.
I truly don't know if it's true.
Talk
but
about an inferiority complex. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. I'm not going to comment on that. I don't think what I have to say would be A, appropriate, and B, something I want on the public record. So we're going to move forward. The first two teams sitting out are the same as well. Washington 5, Oregon 6. We'll do Oregon real quick. They dominated Cal 63-19. Oregon still good?
Still great.
Still great. I like that. Confirmed. In the Washington game, it's funny because,
By the way, they won 52-42.
52-42. Yes, I'm sorry. It was assumed that an Alex Grinch led defense going up against Michael Penix Jr. was going to lose, and it's not the only thing that lost. It was Alex Grinch losing his job in addition to that, because after this game, Lincoln Riley finally, because Tyler, when you are officially, well, not officially, but unofficially eliminated from the conference and national championship picture, that is when you have to make the move that you should have made going back to your time when you were at Oklahoma, right? Like, that's when you finally make the move, right?
Yes, correct.
Of course, not beforehand when you can actually still compete and you have a generational college football quarterback, which the jury, I guess, is out on this week.
Why would you be preemptive? Why would you be
course.
preemptive when you could just be reactionary?
Exactly.
Like, it's so much less work.
But look, the facts are the facts here, though. USC's defense ranks currently 124th in the FBS. There's 132 teams in the FBS, ladies and gentlemen.
And by the way, anytime your school's beat reporter has to say the phrase, to clarify, there are 133 teams in the FBS,
33.
It's done.
Yes.
Whatever they're talking about, they're cooked.
Listen, like, when there are MAC teams with better defenses than you, and you are the University of Southern California, we got an issue. They're allowing 34.5 points per game, which is on pace for the worst points per game allowed in USC history. And they are 109th in FBS in yards per play allowed at 6.11 per play allowed. Just like they have a generationally good quarterback and they have a generationally bad defense. Insane. Obviously, It was the right decision. I do want to ask you, flipping sides of the ball for USC. Caleb Williams, I thought played a good yet
Played a great
again
game.
played a great game. I think in our personal circles, there's been a lot of conversation about Caleb Williams this week. I don't know exactly where I fall on the fence there. I lean a bit more. He is a really good talent. I agree with some of the takes out there that are saying maybe we should stop comparing this guy to high level generational players of the past.
I told y'all. Just
Mhm.
saying. Told
That's
y'all.
crazy, man. You were in on this weeks ago.
Told y'all.
Weeks ago. But the
Every time.
conversation this week has been not around his play on the field, but his emotions and the way that he has been handling adversity and defeat. There was the clip after the game of him jumping into the stands and kind of going into his mother's arms and them covering his face where he's presumed to be crying. And then there was the post game press conference, which when I first saw the graphic, I thought it was like someone trolling, but they asked him like, how are you going to try to get over the loss? And he was like, I want to go home, cuddle my dog, and watch television. And one side of me is like, you know what, man? Same. I feel you. Like sometimes you're just kind of broken and you just need some comfort, and we're all human, and this game is very difficult for them. I imagine I never played at that level. And sometimes you just, it breaks you. But on the other end, there was also the image of Max Duggan last year crying at the press conference for TCU and a Caleb Williams quote tweet of, was it just LOL, like making fun of
Yeah.
him? So I'm not going to say that I agree with all of the like anger going out towards Caleb Williams, but at a certain point, if you're going to dish it out, you got to take it. You know what I mean?
That's the element to me, because we don't want to harp on people's mental health struggles. Like, you and I are not about that, but specifically that being the case, it's like, and that it very much feels to me, this is a thing. You got to be, you can't dish it out if you got to be able to take it if you're going to dish it out. And like,
100%.
I mean, it's just, I heard somebody else say this, and I think this is very apt, is that, I mean, ultimately this might be a good thing for Caleb Williams, because this is what happens in the NFL. You're going to lose games like this, and you got to get up the next week and keep going. And it's tough that this is really the game that solidified that everything that USC wanted, they were not going to get to accomplish. Like, yeah, the playoffs were pretty much out of reach, but the conference championship was still in reach. And that's gone now.
Yeah.
And frankly, I got to be honest, it really isn't because of his play at all.
No.
And I think you talked a lot about how there's been a lot of conversation about that. And I was kind of early on it. And now I find myself on the side of, okay, everybody, let's calm down for a second. Because like I said in some personal circles, is that one thing you got to account for with why Caleb Williams is making mistakes is that he can't trust his defense. Like, but I think if you go to the emotional side, I see it both ways. I'm like, I think it's all right for men to show emotion, especially in high profile situations. But at the same time, like, let us hope that this is a lesson in him and his strength and struggling through adversity. This could be a great moment for him. It could also not be. I also just want to point out that I am absolutely appalled at how many people are saying he should just sit out the rest of the season, because, like,
I'm
actually insane to me.
Yeah, that's wild.
We had these same conversations with Trevor Lawrence when he won a national title. It's just like, should he just sit out the next few years? And then,
right.
Like, it's like,
well, I think the people that are saying that have this. Okay, I'll be honest with you. The first phrase that came into my head these are people who have never played a competitive sport before, but I don't think that that's entirely true. I think it's people seeing just how much guaranteed money there is in being at this high level. And it's the same reason people don't do pro days or they skip the combine. Like, why put things on tape that could come back to bite you later on and cost you millions of dollars? I get the logic. But if I am an NFL team and I'm thinking and I need a quarterback, and I see that Caleb Williams, the second that a perceived season is over, despite the fact that we are in the first week of November, first 10 days of November still, that would be a red flag for me, because we're going to lose. It's going to be week 13 in his first year. We suck. we've lost 10 games, we're 3-10, and he's just going to quit on the rest of the season? Like, there are grown men out there trying to make a paycheck and earn a job for next year. Like, that's not really a team mentality. So that to me would be a red flag for that reason alone.
And that's where I'm at. Where it's just like, you're just going to pack it in the moment that what you have goes out of reach. And I believe it's just like, yes, we joke a lot about tanking. My team literally did tank. I don't think they didn't mean to tank, but they did. Like, but there's an element of like, I do think in football, it matters to win games at the end of the year, even when you're out of competition. It matters. Yeah, it might mess up a draft position. It matters for the gel of the team, for those men fighting together, and like that culture that is created. This is your quarterback. This guy's supposed to be the leader, and I think I want to be very clear. This is me knocking the people saying this. I don't think Caleb Williams is going to not play the rest of the season. I truly don't think
that's
so.
not coming from his mouth, his camp, USC.
Yeah.
That
you see thing, it clearly matters to him. So
him showing emotion shows that it matters. I agree. I think that some of the things that people are saying about him by showing emotion would be rendered true if he did sit out and didn't play, in my opinion. So, but I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
I'm good. I like seeing that he cares. But we got to see how he responds.
100%.
I mean, that's the big thing is that, like, I would still take him first overall, given the talent that he has, but I think we got to cool it with generational stuff. Let's stop talking about USC and talk about Washington super quick before we move on. Because they won this game.
Please. Yes, they won this game, but the narrative is Caleb Williams tears.
You know that, like, Dylan Johnson, the Washington running back, had like over 170 yards before contact.
Yeah.
In this game.
Now that to me is a stat that
insanity.
He's really good, and I think he's a really, really good player and a big part of the success Washington's had this season. But I think the grotesque number of yards before contact is more indicative of an Alex Grinch-led defense than it is him kind of making that happen. You know what I mean? In my
all
opinion.
credit to him, but like
absolutely, because he's got to run it.
Not even Barry Sanders should be able to do that.
Yeah,
like exactly. That's no. And Michael Penix, did you see that scrambled touchdown?
The first quarter, the touchdown in the dude. So the touchdown in the first quarter where did you see his parents' reaction in the stands?
They didn't believe that.
They didn't believe it. His dad was like, "Oh no, he didn't get it." And his mom's like, "No, dude, he got it." Like, what a throw! What a catch too! Like, oh, what a play!
That it's like Washington's kind of struggled the last couple weeks, and I do think that this is probably one of the best offenses you're going to face in the country. But Washington's defense will be the question for if they can really beat Oregon again and contend and get to the playoff. But a positive sign, for Washington's offense was balanced. Michael Penix Jr. was great. Day told me that he sucks, which doesn't make any sense to me. But
Day?
Oh yeah,
the man who's a Falcons fan but doesn't admit that he's a Falcons fan.
Yes, that one.
Got it. Okay. Cool. All right.
I had to say that.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Listen, I think the biggest thing to take away from the Pac-12 this weekend is that for neutrals like us, our rematch that we really are looking forward to in about a month's time, we're trending that way. That's what we want. Yeah. That's what we want.
See, honestly, it's the thing. Washington can slip up now. Maybe not this upcoming week. This upcoming week would be tough for them, but they could slip up once, and they're still probably fine.
Yeah, I think getting over USC was that we can take a breath now. You know what I mean?
All right, let's keep moving.
We'll keep going. Rounding out the top 10, Texas 7, Bama 8, Ole Miss 9, Penn State 10. Those scores, Texas 33, Kansas State 30 in overtime. Texas was up big, and then Kansas State came back and tied it, and Texas snuck out a victory there. In my opinion, that is not Texas being, oh boy, they're going to choke it away. In the past, Texas loses those games. You have to win the games that you struggle in, and it seemed like in the second half they struggled. And they were the backup quarterback.
I think they were very clearly the better team, playing with a quarterback that is not nearly as good as their starting quarterback. It was like Malik Murphy is very athletically talented. He can do a couple things, but you could tell that the speed of the game, he was not prepared necessarily for the speed of the game at a certain point. It started to overtake him. He's a backup. He just hasn't started at all. But it's to go the distance they want to go, they need Quinn Ewers back. Yeah. But Texas, they won, so that's good.
Really, really quickly, because I want to just keep moving forward. Do we see an Arch Manning if Quinn Ewers can't go?
I I don't think so because I feel like if Arch Manning had shown the signs in his true freshman year that they would have started him over him.
Yeah, we're in November. Like it would have been there by now.
Yeah, I mean, like this is
Okay.
the opportunity to give Arch Manning a little bit of time. I think they're taking it slow with him. Like,
Which good development.
yeah,
Bama 42, LSU 28. Jaden Daniels got hurt in this game, concussion protocol. A call that maybe should have been targeting that the play that kind of got him out of there. There was a lot of debate online in terms of how that hit was. I don't know. That's one of those kind of bang bang plays where I don't think that the intent of the Alabama player was to, he didn't lean with the crown of the helmet. It was one of those things where it just happened, and unfortunately for Jaden Daniels, his head hit the ground. I am saying this genuinely. I'm not saying this because Florida's playing LSU this week. Seriously, I'm being serious here. I'm not trying to troll. I would be concerned if Jaden Daniels played on Saturday against Florida, not because I don't think that, not that I want that to happen for a competitive advantage to Florida, but like as a fan of the Dolphins and what we went through with Tua last year, like please take concussion seriously. Like please take them seriously.
No, yeah, he's got.
Because I read something today where he was still in concussion protocol, but like they were progressing him, and it said that he could make it for the game, and that kind of made me feel a little uneasy. Not as a Florida fan, not as a competitive, but just like I watched Tua have a borderline. I don't know if it was a seizure, but
Jaden Daniels has had an amazing season and
Heisman-esque
season. Please. He's finally he's playing himself into like a draftable quarterback conversation. Like serious, like do not mess this up for him.
Yeah. And I'm not saying sit the rest of the season, but like let's take a
Give
game
it
off.
Week.
Give it a week. Well, in the NFL, there's been this thing where like it's like an unofficial rule. It's not an actual rule, but if you notice, any player that goes out with a concussion in a game doesn't play the following week.
Yeah.
Like confirmed. Like it's not confirmed, but it's like an unofficial thing that's happened. I would like to see that rule implemented across football period, but we'll see.
And I don't say that as a Florida fan, so that wants Jaden Daniels out because I don't think we're winning that game either way.
I don't think we're in that game either, but we'll get to that in Florida corner. The Alabama side of this game, they just looked really good. They looked really good. They figured it out. I apologize, Nick Saban, for picking LSU in this game. My apologies. I'm sorry.
Well, it's too bad we didn't have the Nick Saban conversation. I guess we're just gonna have to punt it again. Which they didn't do much of this game.
Punting or have conversations? Because it wasn't a conversation much after Jaden Daniels went out. We'll have to punt that for next week, Tyler. We'll punt it for next week.
Yeah.
Number 9, Ole Miss. They beat A&M 38-35. A&M looked pretty good in this game despite missing Evan Stewart, their best wide receiver. But listen, it's a crazy statement to make, and it would be even crazier a decade ago, but like I think that Jimbo's like beyond washed. Like it's over. Like
so washed. It's over.
Completely washed. It's pretty bad. And this was Lane Kiffin just taking advantage, taking advantage and winning the game. Penn State destroyed Maryland 51-15. We're going to move forward the next 4, Tyler. This is where I think we can start having conversation of rankings because I think we're pretty good on that top 10.
I really have no problems with the top 10.
Okay, good. Me either. 11, we have Louisville, who beat Virginia Tech 34-3. Oregon State beat Colorado 26-19. They slot in at number 12. Tennessee took care of business against UConn 59-3, which you would expect from the new 13 team in the country. And then Missouri, we already talked about. They end up dropping down to 14. We already talked about that game. Any words on those 4? What do you think?
Not really. I think it was good that they didn't drop Missouri too much for playing Georgia really competitively.
That was the most competitive game Georgia had all season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start to finish. So I agree. I honestly, I think Missouri looks better than Oregon State. I think Missouri looks better than Tennessee, which we will get to
Tennessee's
later on.
An interesting one because Tennessee's got a good record, but they've just mostly beat up on bad teams, and they've lost to Bama and Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Which the Florida loss does not look great.
No.
Bama loss in the way it happened is very much like, to me, it was like, it's fine to lose to Alabama on the road, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, you're going to have a good record this year, but you're just not going to get to that next step.
And it's crazy because it was literally just the second half. The first half, they played really well. So,
yeah.
All right, cool. We'll move forward. Number 15, Oklahoma State. We'll get to that in a second. Kansas at 16, Oklahoma at 17, Utah at 18, and then LSU and Notre Dame rounding out the top 20 at 19 and 20, respectively. We already talked about Bama and LSU. At number 20, Clemson ends up beating Notre Dame 31-23 in a game that they did not have Will Shipley, their best player, and they still managed to play some good football and beat Notre Dame. Dabo, take a bow. Talk your what.
I mean, like, no one can tell him to shut up right now.
Is Tyler calling in this week? You think Tyler's calling into the radio show?
Better not.
If I was that Tyler, I'd call in and go, "Hey, my bad, Dabo. My bad. my bad. All right. My fault." They look good.
My biggest, they did. You're reminded that, like, oh yeah, this team is still super talented. Like, it's still one of the most talented teams in the country. They're like Texas A&M this season, like, except for, so you know how like Texas A&M is so talented and doesn't do anything with it.
Yes.
This season, Clemson's kind of like them, where they're like, you're so talented, but you're just not really doing anything with this season, except for they've actually had moments where they've been like remembered who they are. And
yeah. Oh, well, the Florida State game is another one of those moments where they remembered who they are. I just want more consistency from Clemson because the talent is there. I also just don't. I am hopeful that this up and down season that Clemson has had is what's going to spark Dabo to accept that he needs to make some changes institutionally. Again, we're dealing with, through the grapevine, one of the most stubborn coaches in college football, which is a statement because all college football coaches are stubborn.
Notoriously stubborn.
Notoriously. So, like, if the word around those coaches is that this guy is the most stubborn, we got something there. But I'm with you. I just hope that it's enough to make that changes. Utah dominated 55-3. Anything else on Clemson there? I'm sorry, I didn't
nothing really else on Clemson. Sam Hartman goes 0 for 5 against Clemson in his career. Honestly, nothing to be ashamed about.
But I mean, he's got the hair.
He's still got the hair. They can't
and
take
the
that
beard.
away from him.
I think I'm more jealous of the beard than the hair.
The beard looks nice.
The beard's nice, dude. The beard's nice.
Honestly, my take in all these 15 through 20 teams.
Can I pause you because I want to reserve a specific thing here. Let's go. Utah 55, Arizona State 3. Took care of business. It is what it is. The better team. Kansas at 16 beat Iowa State 28-21. I want to remind everyone, Kansas is still with a backup quarterback. So they're doing all of this with a backup quarterback still and against a really good defensive coach in
Matt Campbell.
I was going to say Matt Fickle, not a coach. Combining two guys. And now, Tyler, I would like to talk about Bedlam because...
Oh, would you?
Would I? No. Do I have to for the sake of the podcast? I do. Listeners, as you know, I went to Virginia this past weekend to specifically watch the final Bedlam with my brother, my stepdad, my mom, with my family. We'll talk about the Gators later, but they also lost in dramatic fashion. FAU we'll talk about later, also lost a 1-score game in dramatic fashion. We don't have to, we will talk about the Dolphins at the end because I feel like I have to face the music. I have to be able to acknowledge when Tua makes mistakes and when the game is on him. But that is for the end. Stick around, listeners, because I will be saying some comments that I did not ever think I would say. All of that being said, I think the low light, I should say, was Oklahoma State 27, Oklahoma 24. Tyler, so many things can happen in Bedlam. A 1-score game in the final edition where Oklahoma State wins and plays what was the song they were playing at the end? Did you see that?
Taylor Swift's "We Are Never Getting Back
Taylor
Together."
Swift's "We Are Never Getting Back Together." I will have to admit that was not on my bingo card for Bedlam for the final.
No,
Bedlam.
but it's great.
I'm assuming that take you had of 15 through 20 has something to do with Bedlam.
It actually doesn't. But
okay. I'm sorry. Well, then let's do that, and then we can talk about.
Well, my take was just that Utah is better than all these teams and should be ranked 15th. And
how dare you disrespect the Kansas Jayhawks?
Well, Utah's also doing it with a backup quarterback, so they're doing.
We're also an unofficial Utah podcast, so
Look,
that's
I mean,
fine.
like I honestly am just like just bump everyone down, put Utah up one,
Okay.
up at
I'm
15.
not against that one. I'm not
But
against that.
no, I mean, it is fascinating to me that the entire narrative of the entire Bedlam series, the now I believe 90-20 Oklahoma leading Bedlam series, the entire narrative will forever be shifted until they play again in, I don't know, 10 years when there's money to be made. And
Listen.
like to end on a 2-game win streak, I think, and 2 of the last 3, like the last 4, 3 of the last 4, and to win in that way, to kind of like knock them out of playoff contention slightly, like 2 losses,
put the conference in jeopardy. Put even appearing in the conference title game.
Oklahoma State has the inside track to the conference championship.
They do indeed.
They don't play Texas. They have, I mean, they got a bunch of scrubs coming up.
Wow.
I said it. What are you going to do about it?
Wow. I think that was the karma for my sports teams, us making fun of UCF that whole episode. I think that was the karma that came, because we'll get to it in a bit, but UCF beat Cincinnati, which I don't know if I'm going to count as a Big 12 win.
I'm
not so sure that's going to count.
It also wasn't a very good, it was a struggle of a win.
We don't need to talk about that. We can continue this Bedlam conversation, because Tyler, I hope that you know that by now, all these years I've known you, the decade that I've known you, the 7 years we've been podcasting together, my opinion on referees has been very consistent. You cannot put yourself in a position to allow the referees to make a decision that will cost you the game.
Yeah.
Oh
boy.
That's the most egregious non-pass interference call I have ever seen in college football. I don't want to say in my life, because I did watch that Saints-Rams playoff game. That is the most egregious non-PI I've ever seen. But the most egregious non-PI in college is the Drake Stoops all along the in the sideline, to the point where the broadcasters, which, by the way, this was a Joe Tess and McElroy game. So I was very happy about that. Very happy about that. To the point where they were having a conversation, like, to the rules analyst, whatever his name is, like, we think it's pass interference, but what do you think? Trying to like give themselves an out, like, here's the expert. And I think the question specifically by Joe Test was like, so what here do you see that makes this not be pass interference? And there was like a 5-second silence, and then the analyst goes, I'm
gonna be real with y'all.
I'm gonna be honest here. That's pass interference, man. It was horrendous. And that, to me, people will point to the box score. People will point to Dylan Gabriel's couple, what are you doing, throwing deep ball interceptions. People will people will go to the fact that Oklahoma State ran the ball really well. People will go to the fact that there were just plays that weren't made on the Oklahoma side. But if we're being realistic here, if that call is called correctly, the ball is spotted at the 2. I have more than enough confidence that Oklahoma is going to score that touchdown. And we end up in a similar situation that we did with Red River, where it was a back and forth game, turnovers on both sides, 2 good football teams going at it, and just the team that had the ball last won. And yes, you can say that Oklahoma had the ball last and could have won that football game. Completely agree. But the way that the defense played for Oklahoma, especially the interior front, the turnover margin may be a little bit different on the box score, but they're not taking into account the 3 4th and shorts that Oklahoma stopped in the trenches against Oklahoma State. So there were also some other, turnover on down situations that happened on the other end. Like, this was a very balanced game. I, to be honest, am very, 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 very impressed with Mike Gundy and how he's been able to rally this Oklahoma State team after we had them dead to rights in the first month of the season, which is, again, another reason why we don't write the entire story of the season in September. We let things play out and see what happens. Incredible coaching job that he's had. Credit to him. He's doing a great job getting those guys to buy in and getting them to play, despite the fact that it seems that they all hate each other. But that you can't tell me that pass interference call isn't like season-changing stuff for Oklahoma, right? Do I just have my Oklahoma colored my
I'm gonna be
maroon
real
colored
honest with
glasses
you.
on?
I'm gonna be real honest with you. I hear you. I don't think that this is an exception to the you had
I know.
59 minutes to make the last minute not matter. And
I
like
know.
I know that hurts. Hey, and my counter to this is like, hey, Drake Stoops, run to the sticks on 4th and 4.
True.
Why are you running a
Why are you
2 yard
cutting 2
out
yards
on
short?
4th and 4?
Yep. I know.
Like, I
I
mean,
know.
this
I know. I know. I
so
know.
I was just like, I hear you. I really do. But
So
it's it's funny to me for Oklahoma. The 2 losses that have come this season, I think it's not that this is a 2-loss season right now. It's that the 2 losses came to the teams that they came to. Like,
well,
Kansas.
the 2 losses, one of them came to a team that you've been generationally expected to defeat, and the other's Kansas. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But seriously, like they're 2 games they should have won. If their 2 losses were Texas and I don't know, like a road slip, road slip up that wasn't not Kansas, because traditionally you got to be Kansas, but like a road slip up, you know what I mean? Then okay, I think they can buy it a little bit more. But I think the fact that they beat Kansas, they beat Texas, sorry, and then they lost to Kansas, and then the final Bedlam that they needed to win, man, that's tough.
It was this thing because the story of Oklahoma the last 10 years is that they're good. They're probably going to slip up at one point. And because historically it's like we want to beat Texas more than anything, but losing to Texas has not ever typically cost Oklahoma anything in the last 10 years. There are many teams that have had incredible seasons with 1 loss to Texas.
Yeah.
But Texas has been bad and it's not mattered.
Shout out to the Oklahoma State students that are either juniors or seniors this year, because that means both of their games at home against Oklahoma, they won.
That's pretty awesome.
Which is pretty cool for them. But I will end on this. A fun fact, Tyler, given to me by my brother. Did you know that if you doubled the score in every single game, in every single edition of Bedlam, if you doubled Oklahoma State's score, Oklahoma would still be leading the series? Like if you gave Oklahoma State double the points they scored in each game, Oklahoma would still be leading the series.
To borrow a phrase from a good friend of the pod, Notre Dame Eagles fan, Stephen Peters, man, you be huffing that copium.
You should have seen my brother. We all went out for ice cream afterwards. We went out for ice cream afterwards because it was Florida losing in the way they lost, FAU losing in the way they lost, and then Oklahoma. And we were going to roll right into the Washington USC game. And we were like, we need to take a break. So we went out to get ice cream as a family. And my brother, leaving the house, he was like calm, quiet. We get like to the park, to like the grass, in front of the car, the parking spot. And my brother's a big jokester. And all of a sudden he just runs. There's like a little hill next to my parents' house and it's all grass. And he just runs down the hill and he's yelling, "Why? Why Oklahoma State? It could have been anyone else. Oklahoma State." And then we came home from ice cream 45 minutes later and he did the exact same thing again. It was like, it was funny. It was a nice moment as a family, but man, the copium is strong in our household. So,
all right.
I just wonder when they're going to play again. Do you think that they ever play again? Like,
I think they're bound to meet in a bowl game.
Oh, no. Okay, bowl game is one thing. Do you think that they will schedule home and homes rivalries again, or is this
but not
petty as petty does, and Oklahoma's like, nah, we need to get ours back. Schedule us, and Oklahoma State's like, no. What do you think?
I think that they will, but I think it'll be a while.
I think, yeah.
Well, it's like that Texas A&M thing where like one side really wants to keep playing it and the other side's like, no, like you just explained.
Yep.
But I do feel eventually that will be a thing. I think Mike Gundy has to not be a part of the equation anymore if that's the case.
You mean
I'm saying minimum 10 years.
The greatest coach in Oklahoma State history who doesn't even have, who you can count all of his Bedlam wins on one hand, that coach? Sorry. All right, I'm done.
Again,
I'm done coping.
It's
not even my school. It's not even my school.
Not even go there. All
I
right.
know. I'm like, don't
Like
care.
you have
I
a
don't
closer
care.
degree of separation to West Virginia than you do to Oklahoma. You have got to chill. All right, we're
I
moving
spend
on.
more time
We
in
are moving
Morgantown than the final five. I would like to give an aplausos to bowl eligible Arizona at 21. Just 27-10. They stormed the field afterwards. I can understand why Rob Gronkowski chose to go to Arizona because it was very hot there, and I'm not talking about the weather in the storming of the field.
You know, he literally said that was the reason.
Yeah, of course that was the reason. He's Gronk.
Yeah, I know, but it's just
you
funny
expected him to
he-
make an academic decision?
No, he absolutely didn't. But I just love that it's on record that he was asked this question and he said the reason. It was like, well, it was not for the weather, but
Yeah.
it was for the weather.
My favorite was when he was like, well, I went to a pool party on my recruiting trip and that kind of sealed it. I was like, good Lord, Gronk.
Hey,
Anyway.
I've been to Tucson.
Mm.
I'm not gonna. Anyway,
We'll leave it there. I think we should talk about Arizona's quarterback and how they finally have one.
Noah Fafita, great name.
He's what, a sophomore?
I think so. Yeah, he's pretty young,
and I think he's gonna probably be. I don't want to say he's not good enough to like declare early, but I think at a program like Arizona, he's gonna stay at least. He's got 2 more years. I think personally,
at least,
which will be great for that program because it's so much easier to build a program and rebuild when you have a reliable quarterback. And so much easier.
Interesting thing too, we all poo-pooed the Jed Fish hire at the time, and it's working out. And you've got a coach that's most of his experience is at the NFL level. It's probably going to bode well for your quarterback
in terms of development. I agree.
So you might not lose him to any transfers if he remains on this path.
Very true. Very true. So shout out Arizona. They come in at 21. They are going bowling. And then the rest of the top 25, Iowa 22, Tulane 23. They're your highest ranked group of 5 team. North Carolina 24 and Kansas State 25. Iowa 10, Northwestern 7. The over-under in this game opened at like 30 and closed at like 28, and it still hit the under. This game was also played at Wrigley Field, and you know that I love a good college football game at a traditional college football venue. It was the first college football game played there since like the 30s. And it wasn't even in the top 5 highest scoring sporting events at Wrigley Field this year.
I mean,
which is insanity because they play baseball there. Oh man. It's nice to see that even though, there's going to be some changes made, Iowa's kind of still maintaining their Iowa brand,
Oh yeah.
I saw on Twitter someone say they wanted to see USC paired up against Iowa in a bowl game. Because it was going to be like...
that actually might happen.
Well, I saw a projection that put USC up against Oklahoma. And I don't think Caleb Williams plays in that bowl game, guys. Before we get carried away, I don't think Caleb Williams plays in that bowl game.
I don't even care, man. Lincoln Riley's the coach.
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Rounding out those scores, Tulane eked out a win over ECU 13-10. This was showing up occasionally in the American scores around the conference in the FAU game. And every time it popped up, it was like a 1-score game. And I'd look at Roll and I'd be like, yo, ECU's bad. What is going on with Tulane? So it was nice to see them take adversity and get through.
They're the meme that's just like, why can't you just be normal? And then it's a child in the back seat and it just screams. Like, that's Tulane. They're good. We know that they're good.
And sometimes that scream...
They can't be normal.
Sometimes that screams happens in a New Year's Six game. So,
yeah.
Anyway, North Carolina took care of business against FCS Campbell 59-7. And Kansas State, we mentioned already before, they went ahead and lost to Texas in overtime 33-30. The projected 12-team playoff, Tyler, after week 10, if it was to start today and we had 12 teams, your 4 buys would be Ohio State at 1, Georgia 2, FSU 3, Washington 4, and that's because in this scenario, you have to win the conference to get a bye. You have to win your conference. Those are the 4 buys, and then coming in at number 5 would be Michigan. They would be taking on Tulane, the 12th seed in the Big House. At number 6, you'd have Oregon, who would be taking on the number 11 seed Louisville Cardinals. That would be a fun game to watch.
Yeah.
Oregon and Louisville and Eugene. Then you have 7 Texas who take on the number 10 ranked
That
Penn State
would
Nittany
be a fun
Lions.
game to watch.
Giant Franklin coming down to Austin, Texas. That'd be fun. And then you'd have a rematch in the SEC. Alabama hosting Ole Miss, the 8-9 matchup.
Would also be fun.
Which would also be a fun one to
maybe
run
not
back.
on the football field, but it would be fun.
It would be fun on Twitter. That I will
Yeah.
say. Just to recap from those, all of our 5-wide games were in there. Texas 33, Kansas State 30 in OT. I got the point there. Georgia 30, Missouri 21. We both get the points on that one. Oklahoma State 27, Oklahoma 24. Brief moment of silence. Washington 52, USC 42. We both get the points on that one. And then Bama 42, LSU 28. Tyler gets the points there. For our 2 points, Tyler picked picked Notre Dame to beat Clemson, which they did not, so he doesn't get the points there. And then I picked UCF to beat Cincy, which they did, 28-26, so I get the 2 points on that one. But I was sweating it out because they did almost blew like a 12, 14 point
by
lead.
2 points.
And they were up like 28-10 at one point, something like that, 28-12. That brings our total to date. I have 52 points. Tyler has 46.
Not great.
Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob.
Not great, Bob. Great for me.
I'm
But in this case, you're Bob.
I'm going to have to drop 8. No, sorry. I'm going to have to engage 8.
Okay, that's fine. I'll throw a screen pass all day. I'll throw a screen all day, baby. I'm going to run it till you stop it. How about that? Let's go around the nation and take a look at the conference races. In the SEC, oh my God. Okay.
Here we go.
Arkansas 39, Florida 36 in overtime. Let me just say it. I'll say it. I will be the one to say it.
Oh.
I will be the one to say it. This game is on my beloved head coach, Billy Napier. This is on you.
Yeah. This game
Billy.
is Billy Napier. Else.
This was not Blue Chip Billy, who I know and love. This was Sunbelt Billy. Now I understand that in the moment, it is not your fault that the players all ran out ahead of time. But as the head of a program, it falls on you. And you know what, Tyler? I would say it falls on the special teams coordinator, except we don't have one. So I can't say that.
And whose fault is it that we don't have one?
One, Billy Napier. Yep. I am being fully transparent here. This does not change my opinion that Billy's got to go, and oh my God, it's inexcusable. It is inexcususable. I will give you that.
Oh, it's absolutely inexcusable.
Absolutely.
Florida's not going bowling.
I'm going to push back on that.
I want to be very clear. I am going to be rooting for them to go bowling, and it's very possible. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not picking them to win any of these next 3 games until they do.
I hear you. And I agree with you. And I think if you were to ask me my honest opinion, my honest projection, I don't think the Gators win another game this season, and I don't think that they go to a bowl game. Now, I don't say that it's a guarantee.
I wouldn't say that either.
I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I also will say that I don't want to overreact over a loss where there were logistical alignment, strategic, whatever word you want to choose, issues. And for those saying, but those things can't happen, that's not something I agree with you. But let's not act like Billy hasn't already made significant changes from when he first took over the job.
Yeah.
The defensive court, the defense situation was the special teams. He needs to hire a special teams and offensive coordinator narrative of last season. And what happened? A coordinator left, which I think people are being like, he lucked out on that. Guys, if you don't think that head coaches have a sway in saying, okay, all right, you're going to take another job, that's fine. If you don't think that coaches have like a input on that, I think that you're being a bit ignorant as to how college football programs operate. Mm-hmm. I'll say that. And he made the right hire in hiring Austin Armstrong. You can see that defense go night and day. They were highlighting in the broadcast how this Florida front 7 is constantly rotating and getting players experiences. This is literally the Clemson blueprint to defensive efficiency. This is the Brent Venables blueprint to defensive efficiency. Rotating your young guys, high-level recruits, getting them experience. And I want to remind everyone that we missed our number 1 tackler in the on the team out for the season. And we're missing 3 of our front 7 starters. Like, there were a lot of holes on this defense. And I'm sorry, but if you're going to come to me and be like, but they can't stop the quarterback run, go and watch the Nick Saban press conference after Alabama went ahead and played Arkansas about KJ Jefferson. All right. It's not something that you can just do, especially with your backups in. So I'm not justifying and trying to make excuses for the loss. It is inexcusable. You cannot lose this football game, especially not in the way that you lost that game. And it was we needed this for bowl eligibility, for there to be a blueprint and optimism going forward. But I will say, let's not overreact. I personally believe, and I told you this on Saturday, Tyler, I personally believe that Billy has shown and he's been able to make the changes needed to be able to be a high-level coach. We want to, again, write the story of whatever we're watching, whether it's the season, whether it's the game, whether it's a coach's tenure. We tend to write those stories when we are seeing the first 18 to 20% of it. And in my opinion, I believe that Billy has the ability to lead a program, maybe not all hands on like he is right now, but the ability to lead a program in a way where it can be sustainable for years to come. And that only happens when you can implement plans, you can make those mistakes, correct and fix those mistakes, and build upon them. So far, he has shown he can build those mistakes. He can build off of those mistakes. He can build and grow on that. Here's another test. He's got to hire an offensive coordinator in the offseason. He's got to hire a special teams coordinator in the offseason. He's got to continue to recruit at the level that he's recruiting. He is recruiting at a level relative to the results on the field that is pretty unprecedented for a Florida football program. Urban Meyer didn't recruit at this high level and then also have 5 to 7 win seasons. He recruited at that level and was winning 9, 10, 11 games a year. Like, let's be realistic here. So I just want to, I'm not saying don't be mad about the loss. I'm not saying I'm not giving excuses for it. I agree. Get it out. This is on Billy. But I think this man can apply and make those changes and grow. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I really do believe that this is something that can happen. And I think that he has proven to us before that he's been able to make those changes. So be mad, but don't let it cloud your judgment. Don't let the heavy rain in front of you not let you see the rainbow that's just beyond the bridge. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That was pretty good for me. I like that.
I was pretty good for you. I was wondering where that was going, and I was like, I know. Damn, that's pretty good.
I rambled a little bit, Tyler. Please, what are your thoughts on the game? I kind of took over.
Okay. On the defensive side of things, look, okay, I want to be very clear. Because I was definitely, I think, I was pretty angry. Like you said, after the Georgia game,
rightfully so.
I was sad because I was like, oh, we were never going to win this game, and that's just disappointing. I would love it that it's this way, but it kind of sucks that the Florida Georgia game is Kirby Smart's Super Bowl. Like obviously, yes, he wants to win a national championship, but I love that is the rivalry that means the most to him, and it also annoys the absolute crap out of me because he's good, and it means that he is going to put way more into it. Anyway,
I want him to care about the game, but like, my man, you don't have to go full throttle, okay?
But this game, I was angry. This loss is on absolutely no one else in that program other than Billy Napier. Now, on the defensive side of things, you let a first-time play caller go over 480 yards on you. Now, I'm attributing that more to the fact that this offense was anemic, and you have KJ Jefferson, who's that Cam Newton type of style player. Of like, you can't really account for that. We had a lot of injuries. We're very young defense. And additionally, like you spot them 7 points with the fumbles and all these. So this is very clearly like the defense is very clearly like, I think schematically it's in a good place. It's going to get better. Here's what I would have to say about this whole situation. I agree with pretty much everything you say. This offseason is extremely critical for Billy Napier because if he does not do two things, then I'm out on him. And I want him to work. And the thing is that, like,
what are those two things?
I'm going to get there.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. My ears perked. I was like, okay, all right, what are we doing?
Because here's the tough thing to judge with Billy Napier is that genuinely the one part that he has been really good at is talent acquisition and valuation, both in the portal and in recruiting. All of Florida's best players the last two years, with the exception of Anthony Richardson, who's We all know who that is. All their best players are either true this year, especially are either true freshmen that Billy Napier brought in, or they're transfer players that he brought in. This is the opposite of the Mullen situation, where Mullen was winning with players that other coaches brought in, and he made them better. And then when it was all like, oh, wait till he gets his guys in, and those guys ended up not being as good because Mullen was not focused on recruiting. At every point at this point so far, save for Anthony Richardson, because that's a special case, because that's a 5-star quarterback and he's an NFL for top 5 quarterback.
Generational talent who grew up in Gainesville. Like
that's a unique situation. You were not going to improve. Graham Mertz has been better than we ever thought he would be. But it's one of those situations where at every other spot, the next player, the one that Billy brought in, has been better. So you look at this top 3 recruiting class coming in. You look at the recruiting class that he's brought in and the depth that's establishing. Billy Napier has had the worst hand to be dealt with of the last couple coaches that have been here from a talent position. The one thing he's generally good at takes patience, takes time. I'm willing to give him that. The problem that I see coming up is that the reason, especially lately, that Billy Napier has been losing games have been to in-game coaching mistakes that fall on no one but him. That includes hires, but it's like that whole special teams debacle, inexcusable. We talk a lot about the 4th down, and I do appreciate how aggressive he is. But there's a lot of situations where he makes mistakes, timeouts are used wrong. So the situation is that, like, the 2 things that Billy Napier needs to do this offseason, the moment that this season is over, is hire a special teams coordinator and hire an offensive coordinator. The special teams coordinator, just because 2 years of special teams issues. That has to be fixed. I'm sorry. It just
should be enough of a sample size with the first year. I'll give you that. But I think defense was priority there. Now,
he said the right things, where he's like, every offseason we evaluate what we could have done differently, what was different, and we make those changes. And I think that one he'll make. He needs to fire an offensive coordinator. And honestly, to me, it is not because that Billy Napier can't build a schematically working, talent-driven offense. I think he can. He has clearly not shown to me that he can successfully call that offense in a game and run everything else is my thing. Like,
too much on his plate.
There's too much on his plate. Switching over to the NFL real quick, Doug Peterson did this. Doug Peterson, coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, known as a great play caller. He called the plays in the first season. He has given up play calling duties this past season, and that has caused some stress with Jaguars fans. But he has said many times, just like, I love play calling, I want to do it, but not doing it. He handed it over to Press Taylor. A coach has been with him for 7 years. He's still involved, but he's just like, it allows me to have a greater understanding of everything else that's going on, of timeout usage, clock management, what's happening on the defense. I can put my hands more on everything. I have a greater control. And we see it with that team. They look more consistent, more down to down, like they have all their P's and Q's. That's the thing, is that, like, it Billy Napier lucked out. Sean Lewis got demoted at Colorado. He's would fit perfectly with what you're trying to build here.
He would fit perfectly.
And I'm sure there's others, but it's like, it's not even about improving the scheme of the offense. Like with Mullen and McElwain, it was like, it's not about that. It's about, you can't be doing this. Like, you've clearly shown to me that you cannot. It's that thing. It's just like, when people tell you who they are, when the people show you who they are, believe them the first time. And the thing I'm seeing is that Billy Napier, is not that he can't call an offense, it's that he can't do that and be a head coach in the SEC at the same time.
I agree. And I agree with that. 100%.
Here's the thing. If he doesn't make those changes this offseason, I don't care how good that recruiting class is, because I don't know. I mean, this is the whole Kirby Smart thing. Kirby Smart recruited out of this world for years, but kept making in-game coaching decisions. And then he changed offensive coordinators. And then he switched up his coaching staff. And then he got better at those things. And granted, he was winning a lot more, so he got a lot more time, and he took over a massively better situation. So it's not
completely different situation that was inherited. But
not super comparable. But that in-game coaching mistake thing, that's comparable. So to me, that's what this game is that, like, this was a game, and that's the issue. This was a game. You don't need to wait till next year for a top 3 recruiting class to win this game. You should have won this game with the talent you have now.
Agreed.
Like, great friend of the pod, Courtney Mims, was telling us in our D&D group chat, she's like, guys, I'm telling you, Arkansas is good. D&D noticed was bad, and they're talented, and they're better. And we're all like, our friend of the pod as well, Day was just like, no matter what you can say, you cannot convince me that a 2-6 team is good. And I kind of see that side where it's just like they are talented. They're not, the record does not indicate the talent that they have. Yet this team is also 2-6.
Yeah, I get that.
And you're at home, and
Yeah.
they had shown multiple times that if they turned it on, they could have won that game. The mismanagement at the end of the game, that should never have happened. I'm not in the fire Billy right now situation because I really do think to give him the fair chance that he deserves for like, hey, are you going to fire me before the thing you hired me to do I can even do, which is bring in top recruiting classes? He's doing it, so let's let that happen. But like, you got to make those changes this offseason. And I
agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I just want us to not to subtweet Day here, but I just want us to like realize that college football, I don't think everyone fully understands college football and the complexities of operating a program. You're constantly in college football having to the process is more important than the results in college football, but
Amen to that.
it doesn't mean that the results don't matter. And this is a situation where, in my opinion, the process has shown us significant, and I mean night and day improvement from where we were after winning the Orange Bowl under Dan Mullen, a game that I was at. After that, the program kind of went downhill, and it is night and day difference. We are a much healthier program. It's one of those things where it's like you may be exercising and eating well, and you may not look like you're losing weight, but you are significantly healthier. So like if you keep that going, then you're going to be able to finally achieve those like weight loss goals. You know, just to put it in a different perspective there.
I 100%
That's what I
agree.
see. I think it's going to happen. Like I went to lunch with Raul on Friday, and last thing, because we're at an hour and we got so much more to do. But like I was talking to him and we were going through schedules and stuff next year, and he was like, dude, your schedule next year is crazy. And I was like, call me crazy, but process wise, and I know this is going to get me eviscerated in multiple group chats. The Gators could win 10 games next year. With what I'm seeing, with the talent and the development, if it continues on a path in terms of what we're seeing, and again, caveat, those changes, I agree with you, need to be made. But there is a path for the Gators to be a 10-win season, a 10-win team next year, and making a playoff appearance in the 12-team playoff. There's a pathway to that. Is it something that I believe is going to 100% happen? No. I think it's a less than 25% that it'll happen. But I see a path to it.
Yeah, it's not.
And I think that Billy's the guy to be able to get us there, but he has to make those. He has to make those changes. I agree.
And here's what I would say. I agree. Process of results. I think from a game management, game day point of view, that's bad. What's going on is bad process on the game day side of things.
I agree.
And that's what's got to change, because that's the thing. The process in recruiting, I'm good with it. I know that results haven't shown on the field in that area just yet. They're showing
program building. The process in program building is good. Is showing positive results.
But
it is the in-game process. Agreed.
You got to win games, but
those are changes I think you can make. I don't see this as like this existential crisis.
I agree.
It's an issue. We got to fix it. That's it.
And here's the thing. I agree completely. And that's why I said if he doesn't do those two things this offseason, I'm out, because that shows to me you're not actually evaluating what is wrong with your process. And in a world of stubborn college football coaches, I don't think Billy Napier is that stubborn from what I've seen.
I don't either.
But in that case, you have to make the changes. You can't just So we're all saying the same thing. Those are the things I'm looking for this offseason. Very disappointing loss. I mean, credit to Arkansas, who's very talented, made the change on Dan Enos, and has immediately kicked up a notch. Very injured Florida defense. I would actually want to give a lot of credit to the Florida offense in a lot of spots. Graham Mertz played, I think, really well. Trevor Etienne probably should have fallen down at the one, but I am also a proponent of like you score the points when you can score the points.
Agreed.
Because I unless it's like that, you're down one, it's 40 seconds. If you stay at the one, you could just kick the field goal. But it's just like 3 minutes left. Like if you could fumble the snap on the next play. score the points. Like,
Agreed.
so, I mean, this thing, you see talent. You see talent on that field. It's just not being put in the right positions. It's getting close, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Ah,
All right, let's run through the rest of these
Yeah,
scores and
yeah,
then make some
okay.
picks. South Carolina 38, Jacksonville State 28.
South Carolina's bad.
Yeah. Talk about a program that may need to make a coaching change. Auburn 31, Vandy 15, and Kentucky 24, Mississippi State 3. In the SEC, Georgia's all but locked up the East. And then Bama, Ole Miss are kind of sitting there both at 8-1, with the only loss for Ole Miss being to the aforementioned Alabama. So they hold the
think
tiebreaker.
mathematically, Bama hasn't locked it up, but
It's all
they've
but
locked it up
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Ole Miss's one conference loss is to Alabama.
Yep, agreed.
So.
In the ACC, Duke beat Wake Forest 24-21 without their starting quarterback again. Impressive performance given the situation. That was last Thursday. Boston College 17, Syracuse 10. That was Friday. Georgia Tech 45, Virginia 17, and NC State 20, Miami 6.
Yikes.
Yeah, big yikes. Now I think
good.
this is equally NC State playing good football and Miami just yikes is the word we already said.
There's not a better word for it.
No. I would like to fast forward to the eventual FSU Louisville ACC championship game, please, and thank you.
Me too.
In the Big 12, Texas Tech 35, TCU 28. That was a really fun game on Friday night. I watched the end of that game with my family. That was a cool one to watch. Houston 25, Baylor 24 in OT. Two teams that may be looking for a new coach next year? Question mark.
Maybe.
West Virginia 37, BYU 7. West Virginia 6-3, bowl eligible, and 4-2 in the conference. Good for them. Good for them. Good for Neil Brown for being able to, save his job there. And then the aforementioned 2-point that I mentioned, UCF 28, Cincy 26. Yeah, we're not counting this as a
no,
Big
I don't
12
count
winner.
it. I don't count it.
All right. Okay. All right. I'm with
You've been playing this team for years.
They played this team every year for like the past 15 years or whatever it is. So to the Big Ten, Indiana 20, Wisconsin 14. That
That's
throws
rough.
a wrench in the Wisconsin. We had that conversation last week too, and they just like, not great, Bob. Michigan State 20, Nebraska 17. Nebraska, you could not have. Last week they got the win, and I was like, finally, they gave me something, and then they just turned around and poo-pooed on it.
Truly a bad sports weekend for Sergio.
Just a bad, not just for like my teams, but like my takes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, first conference win of the season for Michigan State. Illinois 27, Minnesota 26. Man, talk about rough. Iowa sitting at 7-2 overall. The only bowl eligible team from the Big Ten West. Jesus.
That's insane.
Oh my God. And they sit at 4-2 in the conference. And surprisingly, they don't have the West locked up given the conference tiebreakers and everything. So we'll see how that goes. We don't need to talk about the East. We know what's going on there. To the Pac-12 we go. Stanford 10, Washington State 7. That's the only Pac-12 game that wasn't including in the top 25. We talked about that already. Washington, Oregon on a path to head over. Could we see an Arizona spoiler moment? Arizona, and Oregon State, and Utah all are 4-2 in the conference. USC 5-2. Maybe Oregon loses another game. They can get up. Who knows? Who knows? The Civil War is still looming. Could be a thing. Could backdoor their way in there.
Oh, wow. That's a good point.
Could backdoor their way in there. To the Sun Belt we go. Troy 29, South Alabama 10. Arkansas State 37, Louisville 17. Coastal Carolina 28, Old Dominion 24. Southern Miss 24, Louisiana Monroe 7. Texas State 45, Georgia Southern 24. And App State 31, Marshall 9. Tyler, you may have noticed that I skipped one on the rundown, and that is our beloved JMU Dukes 42,
America's
Georgia
team.
State 14. Now, here's where the news comes in. As we know, James Madison is undefeated, 9-0, 6-0 in the Sun Belt. They have petitioned the NCAA for bowl eligibility. They had their last petition in the spring denied, and this time the Sun Belt has sent a letter to the NCAA on behalf of JMU, saying that the league will allow them to be able to play in the conference championship game if the NCAA decides to let them be bowl eligible. Now, the track record of the NCAA doing the right thing is not very good. So I don't know if this is going to go through. But it's incredible to see. They're not only 9-0 this year, but they are 17-3 since moving up to FBS. Just let them boys play, man. They've earned it. They have earned it. They're the best group of 5 team. Like, the Sun Belt is looking at this and is like, hey, man, NCAA, this could be the New Year's 6 representative here. Like, they're good enough to be that. I think they're better than Tulane. Like, come on, let's do something here. It would be an incredible story, and the NCAA probably is just going to poop on it. So let's hope that happens, though.
Yeah.
In the American, Temple 32, Navy 18, UAB 45, FAU 42. Oh, my God, that game. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, Sergio, what happened in this game? I didn't get to watch it.
Yeah, well, UAB was winning 28 to 7 at one point. FAU then came back and was up 35-28, and then UAB won 45-42 with a game-winning field goal. And FAU allowed for Trent Dilfer to look like 2007 era Bill Belichick for some reason.
Hey, I've always said if you can lose by field goal to Trent Dilfer, you just got to do it.
I've had such a long week. UTSA 37, North Texas 29, Memphis 59, Florida 50, Charlotte 33, Tulsa 26 in overtime, and SMU 36, Rice 31. That Rice SMU game was fun, and it was very much a we got out of there alive SMU situation. Looking at that leaderboard, there's 3 undefeated conference teams. Tulane, SMU, and UTSA are all 5-0 in the conference. Memphis then sits at 4-1, and FAU at 3-2. Memphis with 7 wins, SMU 7-2. All 4 of those teams are bowl eligible. So, oh man, tough weekend for me. And in the Mountain West, Wyoming 24, Colorado State 15, Army 23, Air Force 3. First loss of the season for Air Force. Seems like ground is better than air in the military industrial complex society over there.
True.
Hawaii 27, Nevada 14, UNLV 56, New Mexico 14. Utah State 32, San Diego State 24, double overtime. And Fresno State 37, Boise State 30. In the Mountain West, Air Force, even though they lost their first game of the year, they are still in the driver's seat in the Mountain West because that was not a conference game. They've only allowed 91 points this season, which is insane. And the fact that 23 of those came to Army this week is pretty hilarious. It looks like we're going to get an Air Force Fresno State conference championship game unless UNLV can make some magic happen. Air Force and Fresno are both 8-1 overall. Air Force 5-0 in the conference, and then Fresno UNLV 4-1 with UNLV 1 game back overall at 7-2. So pretty interesting there. Tyler, you want to pick some games this week?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's jump right into it.
Go to a different week than the previous one.
I know. This week I'm going to be in lovely New York City, and I will be seeing some theater. I could not convince Alexa to go to the UFC 295 event at Madison Square Garden Saturday. I wonder why.
It was worth a shot.
It was worth a shot. I mean, I couldn't go even if she said yes. Like, I don't have $700 to spend on nosebleed seats for cage fighting because it's so visible from so far up, right? It's just so much more visible. I could buy the pay-per-view like 7 times and it's still be cheaper.
Going to those things because they can say that they went to them.
Well, like I want to go and it's cool. Well, they have it on the big screen and it's like it's just being in the energy, Like I've been to pro wrestling where I've sat up in the top and like maybe I'm not seeing it in like up close. I've sat ringside.
Events, though.
I have sat ringside for a wrestling event and I've sat higher up for a wrestling event. And both were just as fun because the energy it's just the energy of the crowd is why you go. So same thing with MMA and stuff. So that's why it would be. But we're not going to talk about that. We don't need to talk about the John Jones fight rescheduled. We don't need to talk about Polar Bear and Tommy Aspinall. We're going to talk about Michigan taking on Penn State. It is a noon game on Fox. Let me pause real quick.
Listeners,
why is this game at noon? Why is this game at noon?
Kickoff.
But why is this not a night game whiteout?
Because Fox likes to imagine that they're ESPN and be special. So they're like, we got to own a time slot. But
your time slot sucks.
I know. I'm not just see. It's great for like Red River or something like that. It's terrible for this. Like,
okay, but here's the thing. Red River has traditionally been played at noon.
Good point.
And then Florida Georgia is traditionally played at 3:30. there is no like traditional time. Like the game, Ohio State, Michigan is traditionally a noon game. That's fine. I get
I
it.
mean, James
But like, what are
Franklin's
we
got
doing
it.
here?
James
It is
Franklin's.
it's the second week of November. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
It's also Michigan's first big game, and it's in Penn State, which is historically well known, one of the better night environments in all of college football. Like
yes, yes.
they just want to be special.
And Michigan is quite literally the biggest like not off the field story in college football right now. And you're gonna just throw it away in the noon slot when College Game Day on ESPN runs over 5-7 minutes now every week, which is a problem, by the way. Have you noticed that? Game Day is like
It's
going over every week.
they got to stop.
They got to figure that out, my man. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's just too much of McAfee talking like this. If we cut out all those pauses, maybe we would get to 12, instead of 12:07 or whatever.
It's so funny how the public perception of Pat McAfee in the sports community has shifted from "wow, what a breath of fresh air" to "can you please stop?"
So here's the thing.
I'm fully in the like. I'm kind of over it.
I'm kind of over it in regards to college football.
Me too.
I love McAfee when he's not talking college football. He does this thing where he tries to seem like he is an expert in college football. And while he has learned a lot and picked up a lot of it, I loved it in spurts. He'd be great for 2 weeks a year, right? I don't think every week on game day, especially when let's be honest here, he's replacing Corso, and
I don't like it.
College football's grandfather and him could not be more different.
Major downgrade in my opinion.
In terms of what that show needs, in terms of who that is. But anyway, we're getting off track here. Let's pick the games here. Michigan, Penn State, noon Eastern on Fox. You're going to pick second every game, like we said. I'll go first. Listen, unless this sign stealing scandal literally is the end of the program at Michigan, I'm not picking against Michigan. They are very clearly one of the best teams in the country, irrespective of all this sign stealing stuff that's happening. I'm going to pick them until they lose. I think they're going to beat Ohio State at the end of the year. And I think that the Penn State performance against Ohio State, where it was a quote unquote close game, but it really wasn't if you actually watched it, I'm going to take Michigan. It's really not a difficult decision here. Maybe that's why they didn't make it a whiteout at night. Maybe because they knew it was like, oh, let's just kind of hide this.
It's going to be disappointing.
Yeah. Maybe if Penn State was like competitive against Ohio State, maybe they would have done it.
Or God forbid won.
Well, please. That is a James Franklin-led team we're talking about here. Calm down. So
I really need to be making up points in this competition. And this is not the game to do it. I'm going to go with Michigan as well because I truly don't believe in Penn State's ability to pull it off.
I need to make decisions where I catch up, but not happening here.
It's not this one. I basically my strategy right now is like I got to pick opposite of Sergio and anything but a sure loss. Like
literally.
And until Penn State shows it to me, I'm not going to believe in it.
I get you. All right, next up, we have the number 21 ranked Arizona Wildcats, the bowl eligible Arizona Wildcats. They're heading to Boulder, Colorado to take on the Buffaloes, Deion Sanders and his whole crew, 2:00 Eastern on the Pac-12 network.
Weird time.
Well, no, weird time because weird channel.
Yeah.
Weird time because weird channel. That's English, right?
Sure.
All right, I want to take this opportunity to talk about Colorado, and we don't have to be too long about it, but do have notes here about Colorado. Listen, the coaching change we mentioned already, Sean Lewis demoted, Pat Shurmur promoted. The offense did not look good. Not look good this past week. Even more so, we knew that the offensive line was an issue, but at least Sean Lewis was able to scheme around and design an offense that would accentuate the skill position players' abilities. And in this case, Pat Shurmur was just like, we gonna run the ball. Except he didn't have an offensive line to run the ball.
Yeah, it
just didn't work.
It's funny because I've actually not hated Pat Shurmur in the past and other jobs that he's done. But this is
because you're not a Giants fan.
That's true. Well, actually, no. I should be more. I'm going to be transparent and honest. I really liked his son Kyle Shurmur at Vanderbilt. I thought he was fun to watch. And I'd be like, oh, his dad's a coach. I'm sure he's fine. Well, I never really paid too much attention to it because I don't really care about the New York Football Giants. But I mean, I know that Pat Shermer's like he's a former NFL coach, former college coach, like football mind. But I also know that like the way he wants to run offense is not the way that Colorado is constructed. And you saw in this game an offense that had things that like had weaknesses that were being mitigated by the play calling. And now you replace it with a type of play calling that can't mitigate those weaknesses. Like I don't understand why you would even make this move unless there's something behind the scenes that we don't know.
That was my only thing that I thought when I read the article. It was like, there's got to be something here because I think Dion's a good coach. Like, I don't
do
buy
too.
into the whole thing where he's in over his head and all this stuff or whatever. Like, no, he's a good coach. It's just there's got to be something there, in my opinion. I'm with you there.
Yeah, I think I'm not. This might be controversial to say, but like I truly think that with Sean Lewis calling the plays, I think they may have even won that game. Like because Oregon State was really good, they were good on the lines, but like it was close, and I don't know. It's just I really do think there's got to be something behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think that's the move here. Looking at Colorado's schedule remaining, there's 3 games left this Saturday against Arizona. Then they have at Washington State, who don't look good, but it is a road game. So we'll see how that happens. And then they finish the year on the road against Utah, which we don't think they're going to win.
Woof.
So in a best case scenario, assuming I think we can make our picks here, we're both going to go Colorado, or we're both going to go Arizona here. I'm going to assume. I'm going to go Arizona. I'm picking first. I'm picking Arizona. Who are you picking?
This is tough for me, actually.
This is a lot longer than I thought you would take. I really thought you would just agree.
I need to make up points, dude.
Is this the place to make up points? A Pat Shermer offense with a team.
Yeah, you're right. You are. I've got the Sean Lewis like previous Colorado blinders on, and I'm like, no,
Yes.
It's not that team. Because I'm looking at the rest
Correct.
of their schedule, and I'm like, yeah, but that team that we saw earlier could maybe win the next 2 games.
Yeah,
like it's just like, but that's not the team that we're looking at. So I'm gonna go with Arizona as well.
Tyler, since that double overtime win against Colorado State to go up 3-0 on the season, Colorado has lost to Oregon on the road, USC at home. They snuck out a win against Arizona State on the road, a 2-7 Arizona State that is very clearly, if not the worst, at best second worst. That's a weird way to say that, but a bad Arizona State team that's 2-7. Then they blew that game to Stanford at home in double overtime. Then they lost to UCLA and they lost to Oregon State. So they have 1 win in their last 6 games. They haven't won since the 3rd week of the year on September 16th. It's been rough. All right. They are 4-5. We think they're going to go 4-6. Washington State might be where they get the 5th win, but I don't see them going bowling.
I don't see it either. Which, we had said that if Dion got this team bowling, it'd be a miracle. And he is a really good coach, not capable of miracles, apparently. But we'll see.
Well, listen, 5 wins is still really good.
That's really good.
And I know people are going to think we're being condescending, but he is 100% not.
To borrow from Catholicism here, we were talking like that he could possibly be like Jesus Christ up in this boy, and he's just John the Baptist. Like,
and it's okay. That's actually really funny, but
thank you.
That's funny, man. That's really funny. Listen, I think that next year in the Big 12 they're going to be better. I expect Dion to be able to bring in help for the lines. So, listen. I think this is the worst they're going to get. Which 5 wins and a great start to the season and developing and growing a program. I think that's a good season. Now, Dion won't think so because he's always been a winner.
So.
And he shouldn't. No, he should want his team to be better, of course. And he should hold his players to a high standard. But I'm with you there. So, all right, we both got Arizona there. Speaking of the Pac-12, Utah's taking on Washington. It's a 3:30 Eastern kick on Fox. It is in Seattle. This is a fun-looking game. I'm going to take Washington just because of what I saw last week from Michael Penix in that offense. And Utah's still with a backup quarterback. I think they still have a safety playing running back. I'm not saying that this is a domination. I expect this game to be competitive, but I think if Washington is who we think they are, you and I, Tyler, they're going to win this football game. They have to win this football game.
I
just think
agree.
so.
But this is a game that I feel comfortable picking against you.
This is an understandable one because I can easily see a world where Utah wins this game easily.
So it's one of those weird things where for all of the like world beaters that Utah is, they have typically not done great against Washington. It's been a thing because I remember when Kyle Whittingham finally beat like Chris Peterson a couple of years ago, he like literally said it's like this one's special. Like, it's that they don't typically beat Washington for some reason. And that there was a period of time where Washington was great. Utah was just okay. And now Utah is ascending to being like even better. And so is Washington. But like, I'm going to go with Utah here because like, now we say they're playing with a backup quarterback. And it's true. At this point, he's the starter. And, he's playing well.
Yeah. And he is playing well. I get that. Last two games here, both in the SEC. Tennessee, number 13, is taking on the number 14 ranked Missouri Tigers. 3:30, dun, game of the week. I got Missouri. I just think from what we've seen this whole season and what we saw last week against Georgia, who is the best team in the SEC this year, I think that Missouri is going to do well. And from what we saw from Tennessee in the games where they need to step up against those teams, similar, I hate to say it, but similar to my Dolphins, it doesn't seem like they can step up in the biggest games that are needed. Because to them, Florida's always a big game. I just want to emphasize. So I got Missouri.
Okay. I am unfortunately going to have to go with Tennessee here.
There's a world where Tennessee wins this game. Like, it's not out of the question. So it's
not out of the question. And it's one of those things where I think actually Tennessee's favored right now, which I don't really understand. But Tennessee has a formula. And that's the thing. Tennessee has a formula from which if you cannot defend against that formula, they will beat you. They are just really good at that thing. And Florida had the unique situation. They had the ability to do it. Alabama had the ability to do it. A lot of teams can't. Missouri may. Missouri had a really good strategy in the Georgia game of like, we're not going to run downhill. We're doing stretch plays. They took the chance of we are exclusively going to throw 50-50 balls to our really good wide receivers. Isolated against this Georgia secondary so that it's just a player versus a player. We're not fighting the entire Georgia defense. They had a good plan. You took chances, didn't work out for them in the Georgia game. They've got a good chance, but I think also if you cannot defend the run and the deep pass the way you need to, Tennessee's got a real shot. So I'm going to go with Tennessee. I need to be making up points. Main reason.
So it's a schematic play. Schematic play. I get it. Last game in 5 wide, number 9 Ole Miss is going to take on Georgia between the hedges. They're number 2 ranked team in the country. 7:00 Eastern on ESPN. The closest thing to a compliment that I will give Georgia at the moment is that it seems like the absence of Brock Bowers is not affecting them as much as was originally intended. And that's me being nice.
The nicest that I can be is that I know I don't go first, but I have never even once considered the possibility that Ole Miss could win this game.
I can't wait for it to happen.
It would be funny if it did.
As a Florida fan, it'd be great if Lane Kiffin gave us that gift. That'd be fun. That'd be nice. All right, Tyler, what are our 2-point games this week? You're going to get the first pick. What were you looking at? What are you thinking?
Okay, well, we had a lot of games that missed the cut here. So I'm looking at a lot of things. There's a lot of, it's an interesting palette, I'm looking at pulling up my list that I make before everything. You got Rutgers, Iowa, which is visually terrible, but could be
really.
Could be.
I think that's like a classic.
Oh no, I'm not talking about like their uniforms. I'm talking about the play on the field.
Oh, the quality of football.
That's why I switched from aesthetically to visually. Like aesthetically, it's actually very pleasing.
I thought it was a nice. It was very NFL uniform.
Yeah, this Iowa State BYU is a kind of sneaky fun game. A&M plays Mississippi State. Yuck. But the games that we kind of missed the cut were FSU Miami, UNC Duke, and Oregon USC. Look,
just take the layup.
I'm taking Oregon to beat USC.
Thank you. Just take the layup, dude. Like it's fine.
As long as you're cool with it.
It's okay. Take the layup. I get it. Like I would be doing that if I were you too. Don't worry. But because of that, I'm gonna make it. No, you know what? I was gonna take
Dude,
Miami over FSU just
take
to
the
have
layup
fun.
as well. Take the layup as
Right.
well.
Sure. Is that what
Hey,
you
I'm
want
gonna
me to
beat you
do?
fair and square. I ain't got to steal no signs.
You know what? I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna try to get some good karma back on the Florida side. All right. Listen, was the loss to Arkansas inexcusable? Yes. But do I think Arkansas is a bad football team in terms of players and process? Since that was a big theme of the episode today. No, I don't. And I like Sam Pittman. Okay, he is college football's uncle to me. I'm going to take Arkansas to beat Auburn at home, 4:00 Eastern on the SEC Network. Let's have some fun. Let's get some good vibes going. KJ Jefferson, I was talking about him last year, about how much I liked him, and the year before that. Let's get back to that, KJ. All right. He's got a coordinator who's going to call plays for him now. All right. That's a big boy running downhill on design quarterback runs. Let me take it.
You know that Arkansas.
I get to pick against Hugh Freeze. Like win-win here, dude.
Win-win. Both morally and financially.
Yeah, morally and on the field, exactly.
You know that Arkansas is favored in this game.
I'm not surprised. I didn't check the lines or anything like that, which I can now that sports betting is back legal in the state of Florida, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what we call a transition.
I fired up the app and I logged in and I did not realize I had like a balance of over $150 in there from before. Very happy to hear that. Very happy to see that. I haven't placed a bet yet though. I've just been so busy with work stuff, and honestly, like the only things on this week were like hockey and some other stuff. And I was like, dude, I've been so busy with this new job and everything. I haven't had time to like sit and like dissect it. And the times that I do have time to do that, I'm preparing for this podcast. So,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I couldn't really. I'll place a bet this weekend on the UFC fights and maybe a couple college games and some NFL stuff, though.
Bet the over on LSU Florida. Let me tell you.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That's not a bad play. That might be a way for me to be engaged with that game without like wanting to claw my eyes out.
So it's so funny. So that day, so kind of we're going to transition over to a little bit of a Florida corner. As Florida travels to Baton Rouge to take on the number 19 LSU Tigers at 7:30 Eastern on SEC Network. With or without Jane Daniels, LSU's massive favorite and deserves to be so. Florida does typically play well against LSU generally. And
it's a rivalry game. Recent rivalry game, but it's a rivalry game.
Yeah, Florida typically plays well. I think they match up well in regards to Florida. LSU's defense is bad, and Florida's offense can find creases there. It's interesting though because, well, first of all, I think you should smash the over because I feel like both these teams are going to score. But so funny story. I'm playing D&D at my apartment. I'm hosting it with a bunch of the my actor and like writer friends and LA people that Saturday, and one of them went to LSU.
Oh,
so we're probably going to be wrapping up right as this game starts. So might have to throw it on the telly.
Might have to test the friendship out.
Yeah,
might have to test it out.
He rubbed it in my face when they beat us last year. We were at a party. And then he's just like, hey, check this out. And I thought he was going to show me a meme, and he was just like, LSU's final score over Florida. Just like, hated
that.
Hate it.
So just to clarify, like, we both think LSU's winning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I hope we're wrong.
Here's the thing. It's like, of the next 3 games, Florida, I wouldn't be surprised if Florida pulled off an upset in any of them, to be honest with you, just because like they all seem gettable. FSU sets up the most because it's the one at home. It's the biggest rivalry. It would mean a lot to ruin their season in a way. It probably wouldn't even ruin it, but
it would be a blemish, though.
It would not, and
it would get us bowling, and it would be
it would be huge for us.
It's bigger for us than for them, but
So that would be good. Missouri is the least talented of these teams. They are good, but they're the least talented of these teams. They're actually the worst. They're probably on the same par as LSU, but they're the least talented. So you've got more of a chance there because the talent profile matches up, but you are on the road up in Columbia late in the year and a colder environment.
That's my least favorite scheduled game that we have every year. Like whenever we play Missouri on the road,
they've got a competitive advantage if you play them on the road late in the year.
Yeah, and whether they're good or bad, it's just like, ugh,
Yeah. So
I'm with you though. I'm with you.
I think it'll be an entertaining game. I really do think this will be an entertaining game.
Yeah, I agree.
Unfortunately, I do feel like Florida. I don't feel like Florida was going to be able to keep up, even if LSU's played a backup quarterback.
I am doing my best to try and coordinate dinner plans Saturday in New York City to be in a sports bar for part of this game. I can't guarantee it'll be the end, probably the beginning, but there's this cool place I see on Instagram. It's called Rocco's, and it's
I've
in
heard
like
of this.
it looks really cool. And like I've been sending it to Alexa for months now. Like when we decided to go to New York, I was like, I really want to go to this place. Like I want to go to like watch a game. And she was like, we can't watch a whole game. And I was like, that's fine. It's too long, but like, let's take an hour. Let's be there. They got cool drinks. It looks really cool. I would like to go there. So I'm trying. They don't take reservations. And I don't know. Alexa's a planner to say the least. We may or may not have had a conversation last week where she was like, I thought you were going to do this. And I was like, I'm doing it now. Like, it's okay. We're going to be fine. And so, you know, she likes to plan things and there's no reservation. So we're going to try to get a table. If not, we'll sit at the bar, but just, you know, catch at least a quarter. You know what I mean? Catch at least a quarter of this thing. So let's hope.
It's funny. We have a Rocco's here in LA that is a Gator bar.
Is it like a Rocco's Tacos or like a
Rocco's Tavern?
Like,
it's
okay.
It's like but like it's not even really a Gator bar. It is just that one of the University of Florida, the Southern Los Angeles Gator Club,
the chapter.
Some of their game meetups are there.
Nice, awesome. That sounds like something that we may need to go to when I go visit you in LA in a fall to come. I think so. Recapping the 2 point before we sign off here: Michigan, Penn State, noon Eastern on Fox. We both have Michigan. Arizona, Colorado, 2:00 Eastern on the Pac-12 network. Godspeed to cable company employees who have to answer phone calls on why they can't watch Deion Sanders. We both got Arizona. Utah, Washington, 3:30 Eastern on Fox. Tyler has Utah. I have Washington. Tennessee, Missouri, 3:30. Dun, 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 CBS game of the week. Tyler has Tennessee and I have Missouri. Ole Miss, Georgia, 7:00 Eastern on ESPN. We both have Georgia. Tyler's 2 point Oregon over USC. And I have Arkansas over Auburn. We got to sign off, but before we sign off, I do want to say the Dolphin game was on Tua. I hate to say it.
Whoa.
The Dolphin game is on Tua. Similar to how you had to talk me off the ledge here with the copium.
What an episode for Sergio admitting things.
Listen, man. Like, listen, the third down play, you had Wilson wide open, and the ball literally just slips out of Tua's hands. And then the fourth down play, like Dolphins, you go on Dolphins Twitter and it's like the Zapruder film. Like people are breaking down the center snap from 3 different angles. And I'm like, I get it. It was a little to the side, but Tua's got to catch the football. Like, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to say there?
Tua's got to catch the ball. Is part of his job.
That's that's your job, dude. You got to snap the football.
Snapped it better. Yeah. But
here's the thing, like that this has happened like 5 or 6 times this season. And all the other times it was center's fault. It was either way too high. It was on the ground. It was like not his fault at all. So like I held out judgment really quickly. I was like, I don't know if that's on Tua. I got to rewatch it and see it. And like, yeah, it's a little bit to the side, but like not enough to not catch the football like that. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I do want to say it was the first Dolphin game where this entire defense was healthy and it showed. I'm pretty agitated.
The Chiefs did not look good in the second half.
I'm pretty agitated that the whole conversation is like Mahomes did it again. And it's like, did he? Did he do it again? Because he was held to under 200 yards and he couldn't do anything in the second half. And the Dolphins pass rush was getting after him. Like this is a game that the Dolphins lost, specifically Tua. I'll put him on that at the end. I get it. Played a relatively good game, not his best game, but these are 2 of the best teams in the league. And I think that unlike the Bills second half of the Bills game or the whole game, unlike the Bills game we lost, and unlike the fourth quarter of the Eagles game that we lost, we were in this game the entire time. And I think the theme of the episode, process over results, right? I think if you look at how the Dolphins have been playing all season long, I don't think it's, the Dolphins just can't win the big one. Yes, we haven't won the big one, but I think when you go to each one, we have been getting better and better with each of those high pressure situations. We just got to execute and do it. Mm-hmm. Now, did it hurt because that probably could have determined home field advantage in the playoffs? Yeah, definitely. But listen, I like this team a lot. The defense is healthy. Ramsey being back is such a big difference. Like it's noticeable on the defense. And then offensively, playing good football, if the offensive line can get healthy, and Tua can make those end of game situations, which again, this is the first time that it's been that way. It's not like this is the 5th time that's happened. All right. But yeah, that game was on Tua, and it was funny because after when we went to get ice cream, I told you earlier, went to get ice cream on Saturday. I was like, don't worry, guys. The success of our sports teams this weekend falls on the Dolphins tomorrow morning, which is exactly what you want to hear from a lifelong Dolphin fan.
Yeah, not great. Not great. Hey, Jaguars could not disappoint me this past weekend. So
you know what? I won my fantasy football matchup.
Isn't that what matters? Isn't that what matters?
And Travis Etienne was on a bye, so I am happy with the results of my fake football, not my real one, but the fake one.
My fake football is going pretty well too. I'm in
the playoff spots now. I'm 5-4. I won 3 straight.
I think I'm in the 6th seed. So
coming back, I think my trades are playing out. I'm in the 5 seed. So it's looking good. It's looking good for us.
Well, that's the thing. I've kind of accepted. So if the Gators lose this weekend, I'll be okay with it. I won't be okay with it, but it's just like it's more expected.
Yeah.
A lot is riding on the Jaguars beating the 49ers.
Well, listen, if you lose the game, it's like not the end of the world. It's not in the division. It's not even in the conference, and it's the 49ers. They're a good football team. I do think, though, if you win, you get to piggyback, and then be prepared for the people not to give the Jags credit, because the story will be what's wrong with the Niners. It's their 3rd straight loss, whatever, 4th straight loss, whatever.
I saw a segment on ESPN today that was previewing the game and only talked about what was wrong with the 49ers.
On where?
On NFL Network. So,
I thought you were going to say on ESPN.
Well, it probably would have been worse on ESPN.
I was going to say.
Well, no, it's just like I heard somebody say, and Dolphins are going to catch a stray here, unfortunately. But I heard somebody say, like, if the Jaguars lose the Niners game, it's just like they're going to fall into the Dolphins category of who have they really beaten.
You know what? You know who we've really beaten? 6 teams.
That's how I feel. Where we're
10 weeks in. 6 teams. All right. That's who we've beaten. In 9 weeks, we beat 6 teams. How about that? How the Bills? Huh? How's Josh Allen playing? How's that going for you guys? Huh? How's the generational Jets defense? Doing good? They're doing all right? Really? How's the Taylor Swift effect happening? Really? Oh, that's going on? Go. That's great. How's Geno Smith and the Seahawks? Right? Really? Oh, how's the 49ers who've lost 3 straight games? Soon to be 4. Duval, go Jags. How's that happening, huh? Y'all want to come for us? We'll see y'all in January. How about that?
Amen, brother.
And with that, I'll end the episode. It's way too long, and I don't want to be aggressive.
Just reiterating though, that it probably won't happen, but if our teams meet in the playoffs, we have to attend.
Well, it would be in the state of Florida, so we might have to. Okay. All right.
Spreading it out there. That. But we both host playoff games probably, because we're both probably, likely going to
win our division. Yeah.
Yeah.
It depends on who finishes higher seed, and if we're able to match up in the second.
Might not happen at all.
Might not happen at all. So I'm with you though. I like that idea. I'll lose some sleep.
Be thinking about it.
I'll drive up or drive, or we'll go.
I'll fly in.
All right. Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
This is a college football podcast.
Exactly. It's a college football podcast.
We can be having these conversations about going to playoff games next year when the 12-team playoff.
There we go. Those are the playoff games we want to attend. Whoa.
Can you imagine a playoff game in the swamp?
We can't do that. I can't. We gotta. This has been another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
We're not biased, Tyler, but go Gators.
Go Gators.